Welcome to Kevin Deal Photography, where I take you on my journey through photography. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the announcement of the Canon R5 Mark II. I'm pleased to announce the release of my Capture One and Lightroom presets, Metamorphic Portraits, The Sound of Silver, and Rangefinder. These are all available for purchase at my website. Go to kevindealphotography.com or check out a link in the description below. And now, on to today's episode. Welcome to today's episode. If you're not familiar with Kevin Deal Photography, we do gear reviews, tips, techniques, and tutorials, and sometimes we dive into film. If any of that sounds appealing to you, click the subscribe button below. So the original R5 was announced about 4 years and a little over a week ago. I personally have taken hundreds of thousands of images on mine, shot countless videos, and it's paid for itself several times over. It's been an amazing tool for my photography business, and if Canon were to replace it, they'll have large shoes to fill. So after a ton of speculation and observations about people saying this camera wasn't going to be announced in July, to it was going to be announced in July, to others even saying it wasn't going to ever be released at all, Canon announced the R5 Mark II. I just got done watching the presentation like many of you, and yes, I just put mine on order. There's much to sort through here, and we're going to go over what they announced. So what is the point of today's episode? Well, for those of you who are interested in this camera, this discussion will be focused around three main points. Things that we asked for and we got, things that we asked for and we didn't get, and then things that we didn't ask for but Canon decided we needed anyway. So let's start with the things that we asked for and got. I asked for improved dynamic range, and it looks like Canon delivered with a new 45 megapixel BSI sensor that boasts 16 stops of dynamic range. I asked for a stacked sensor, and Canon gave us a stacked sensor. I will gladly take that over more megapixels, but I do know that some of you wanted more megapixels. As Canon seems to do with all of their releases, regardless of price, it boasts the latest and greatest autofocus algorithms. There's no reason for me to believe that this is going to arrive with anything less than amazing autofocus, but it appears they've taken it a step further with the R5 Mark II and are introducing subject identification or registering faces. Kind of like how your iPhone recognizes specific faces, this could be super important if you're working with a subject in a crowd, for instance, and I'm excited to try this out when my R5 Mark II arrives. Pre-shoot RAW. It looks like Canon has introduced pre-shoot RAW, which is welcome for people who find themselves in unpredictable environments. Think about sports, photojournalism, street, or wildlife, for instance. If you're late to the punch, the camera is constantly looking ahead. I can't wait to test this out. I'm looking forward to seeing how this part of the announcement integrates into the real world. Speaking of something I'm looking forward to testing, the overheating issue. I'm not going to declare it as solved until I actually test it, but I do own both the R7 and the R8, which came out after the R5, and those models had improved overheating performance. So I'm hopeful that this robust video camera will continue that trend. It looks like they have a cooling grip, which is great. We'll see how it performs out in the field. It appears there's also a couple of vents added to aid in this area as well. 8K 60 frames per second. I personally didn't ask for this, but I know many of you did, so we're going to throw that into the first category as well. I can't wait to see the video quality of this camera. But the video upgrades don't just stop there. They have a new SRAW format with a 2K proxy that can record to a separate card. They have C-Log 2 for up to 16 stops of dynamic range. You can install custom LUTs. They added a tally light, and now you can see things like waveform monitoring. Additionally, they give you the same 4-channel 24-bit audio processing that they put inside the new R1. The display of focal length, this is often overlooked and not necessarily asked for by many, but Canon has been putting it in all of their new models, and I'm glad to see that it's being put into this model. When I use zooms, for instance, sometimes I need to match a shot that was on a prime for this channel for my testing. Knowing which focal length I'm at and not having to remove my eye from the viewfinder is definitely something I will not complain about. I wanted a full-size HDMI port, and thankfully Canon decided to put one in the new R5. That's great considering full-size HDMI ports were invented 22 years ago, and Canon finally figured out how to put one in an everyday camera. I personally didn't want a huge price increase, and I think $42.99 is acceptable when you take into account inflation. Now to the things either I or others asked for and we didn't get. Dual CF Express cards. The original R5, it has a combination of CF Express Type B and SD cards. I'm used to it, so it doesn't bother me, and to be honest, I do wonder how hot the new camera would get with dual CF Express cards, but perhaps in an effort to prolong the cooling during video, Canon made a wise decision to not use media storage that further contributed to the overheating of the camera. I still prefer to have my cards match, but this is definitely not a deal breaker. Something that I personally want in every camera and have in my Fuji X100VI is internal ND filters. Yes, I'm aware that Canon doesn't even have this feature in their R5C cinema camera, so why would I realistically expect them to put it in this camera? I don't, but I would still like to see a shift in the industry where this becomes a thing. Virtually all cameras nowadays shoot both stills and video. If video is that important to put in every single camera, then let's start adding useful features like internal ND filters to everyday non-cinema cameras as well. I often shoot the RF85 and RF51.2 lenses wide open in the middle of the day, and 1.2 is simply too bright. If I could simply assign a button to engage an ND filter and take the shot 4 stops darker, it would mean I don't have to screw on a front filter for those types of situations, or even buy a filter at all, because now I have one that'll work with every single one of my lenses. This is wishful thinking, I know, but it's what I want. They did, however, increase the shutter speed max beyond 1/8,000th of a second, so I did get a little help there. On the original R5, they had a record time limit of 30 minutes. We asked for that to be removed. Unfortunately, from what I see on B&H's website, at 4K, it still has a limitation of 120 minutes, an improvement for sure, but objectively still a limit. Now to the things that we didn't ask for but look pretty darn cool. Upscaling your images. You can upscale JPEGs up to 179 megapixels. This looks pretty darn cool. In-camera raw processing with noise reduction. All you people who hate noise should love this. An improved EVF. I like the one on the original R5, but I'm not going to complain if they made it better. Hybrid and video stills. This is intriguing, and I can't wait to see how I can split these two up in real time. If I don't have to switch modes, that's gonna be pretty awesome. Eye focusing. Not new, but definitely welcome. I tried this feature out on the R3 in a camera shop. I didn't have enough time to declare if I liked it or not, and this feature definitely didn't push me to purchase an R3, but I'm not going to complain if it works well on the new R5. And if it doesn't, I'll gladly go back to what I've been doing all along, which is just taking sharp in-focus pictures that didn't need this feature in the first place. But it's great that we have choices. So there's a lot to like about the R5. There are a few things where I think that it fell short, and then there were some surprises that definitely surprised me. So whether or not I'm going to purchase this, I've already given you that spoiler. I am going to purchase it. I already placed my order and it's on its way. And of course, as soon as I get it, I'll be putting it through its paces and I'll be doing a review for all of you. That does it for today's episode. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching today. Are you going to get the R5 Mark II? Tell me about it in the comments below. Did the features push you one way or the other? Are you going to take advantage of the fire sale on the older R5? Tell me about that in the comments below. And if you like this channel, I humbly ask you to click the subscribe button below. And just a reminder that I have both the F11 podcast, photography podcast on Apple, Spotify, and my own YouTube channel. And if you like my pictures that I take on this channel and you like the presets that I use on those pictures, those are available for purchase for both Lightroom and Capture One on my website. Link in the description below. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.